I like the idea that everyone in an organisation knows how to support someone in crisis. I like the idea that people have got capability when it comes to addressing suicidal ideation. I also think that you can't do a 2-day course and actually be considered an authority when it comes to workplace mental health. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've still got go-to people that I hit up every week, and I've still got to do, so much research each week just to try to stay, keeping up with what's actually going on. And yet, so I think a lot of what happens in this space with a lot of the illness-based education is that not only that it doesn't address an organisational barrier, is people confuse the fact that it's interesting. We all want to know what's going on. It's an interesting topic. They confuse that with efficacy, that it's actually going to make a difference, and it doesn't necessarily do that. I think we can learn a lot from lived experience, but I think to learn a lot from lived experience, we need to understand a couple of things. One is that everybody's lived experience of mental ill health is different. Just because I've had depression doesn't mean it's the same as what someone else is going to get. My recovery, my experience is going to be different from somebody else's. So I can't assume that just because I've got a condition the same, or the same, that I've been diagnosed in the same vein, that I'm all of a sudden able to remedy that situation for that person. I may be able to have empathy, but it doesn't necessarily give me the skill set or capability or the authority to sort of look at how do I solve that problem for that person or for everyone who may experience a different level of mental ill health. If we were to look at lived experience through what were the organisational barriers that impacted your mental health, or the things that helped you when you were vulnerable, if we were to look at that from a causation, and contributing factor perspective, that's a really powerful way to look at mental ill health and the influence of the workplace from the user experience of that. But I'm not seeing that done so much. What I see so much in the lived experience space is people telling a heartfelt story, people pulling on emotion rather than evidence. Storytelling is powerful. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying we've got to be careful around how that is used. I see so many people now use that for the catalyst to launch a business. Speakers, I had this, therefore I can now tell all the executives what to do, and what you need to focus on straight away is gut health. Like, for goodness sake, if this is dangerous. People assume positive intention from these types of programs, when in fact at best they can be benign. A lot of the times they actually may do harm. When you take away resources from the people who are most vulnerable by investing in the things that simply don't work, that's not good business. So I really think there's a lot we can learn from these sorts of things, but they need to be put into context, in the workplace context, and where do they fit on your workplace strategy? Is your strategy mental illness strategy or mental health strategy? Who's doing these sessions? Are they an allied health professionals? What is their qualification? Should they even be talking to people in this space? And I think that worries me as well. If I do a 2-day course to learn how to service my motorcycle on the weekend, I can't hang up a shingle the following weekend and start calling myself an automotive engineer specialising in two-wheel vehicles. And yet this is what seems to be happening. I look at a lot of the posts and things on LinkedIn around people who might have done a couple of day course or whatnot, calling themselves now an expert in workplace mental health, or claiming that because they've done this course, they're now an authority and able to speak on behalf of others. And I just cringe and think, at the end of the day, there's vulnerable people. And if we're not doing the right thing by people who might be vulnerable, we're not, that's not ethical behavior. And I think that the notion of ethicality is something, I believe it's been touched on in one of your podcasts before, is one of those issues I've got around the resilience training. It's just like, oh, geez, we're overworking people. The job demands are too high. The jobs are designed poorly. We haven't thought about hybrid work. Better do a resilience course. It's just, it's putting a Band-Aid on a tumor, and it's making an individual responsible for a workplace factor. And that's my gripe around those things, is that in context, some of them have their place. Some of them we should just discard. But there's finite resources within organisations. Let's make sure those resources are used to maximise their impact. Because if we don't do that, we're not just compromising the commerciality or sustainability of our business. We're hurting people.